Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Thank you for listening to Your Working Life, my podcast series featuring thought leaders in the career and personal growth arena. You spend a significant portion of your life at work, so my goal is to provide you with tools, inspiration, and resources so you can enjoy your career and love your life. And I am delighted to welcome my very special guest to the show today, Ellen Auster. Ellen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Caroline. It's a pleasure to join you today.
Oh, I'm very excited to talk about your brand new book, and I want to tell our listening audience about you. Ellen R. Auster has more than 25 years of experience as an academic and consultant, specializing in strategic transitions, transformations, and turnarounds. As a professor of strategic management and the founding director of the Schulich Center for Teaching Excellence at the Schulich School of Business, York University, she has published widely in journals including the Academy of Management Review, Management Science, Sloan Management Review, the Journal of Business Ethics, and Human Resource Management. Ellen has also been quoted in Business Week, Time, Newsweek, Harvard Business Review, USA Today, and many other leading news sources. Ellen, I'm so thrilled to talk with you today. Thank you for being with me.
I'm delighted to be here, Caroline. Thank you.
Okay, so let's cut to the chase. Now, we know that the world is in a constant change cycle, and companies are struggling to keep up. But the reality is there are 70% of change efforts out there in companies that fail. So, Ellen, why, number one, and how do we change that?
Yeah, so absolutely right, Carolyn. Change is the new normal in today's fast-paced global environment. And most changes, as you say, almost 3/4 do fail. And in our work with companies, Lisa Hillenbrand and I, she's my co-author on our book, Stradella, we find again and again there are a few key errors and problems that companies run into as they struggle through change. One of the first ones is they lock and load too fast on a strategy, and once they lock and load, they kind of stick there for 3 to 5 years often with a big strategic plan. A second common error is they tell and sell rather than really inspiring and engaging and unleashing the passion of people in the organization. A third is they tend to kind of shovel politics under the rug, and that'll come back like an erupting volcano if you don't directly kind of tackle the politics. And the fourth is they don't really think about change fitness and the ongoing nature of change and what that means for the employees in the organization and how they can kind of better optimize their energy. So to answer your question, why do 70% of change efforts fail? It's that lock and load, tell and sell, ignore the politics, and end up with change fatigue.
And I know this is a podcast, so people can't see each other, but I can just feel the virtual millions of heads nodding around the world because all of us, myself included, can relate to some of those realities that you mentioned, like lock and load. So your book, as you mentioned, is called Stradella Tea, which is a fabulous hybrid term. How did you come up with that name? What is Stradella Tea?
So Stradella is strategic, agile, people-powered change, and it actually emerged one morning on my screen as I was, my fingers were flying faster than my brain, I guess, and that popped up instead of strategic agility. But I saw the word and I said, oh my goodness, I love that word.
Yeah.
And we started using it and it seemed to resonate with people because it's all about not only tackling today's changes, but also building the change capabilities for tomorrow's changes as we go. So focusing as much on the processes of change as the strategy or the metrics or the content of change.
I love it. So that really does differ from those, shall we say, chestnut approaches to change management that you mentioned that are a bit hackneyed and stodgy and just need some sprucing up, shall we say. I love Stradella Tea. It's not only a fun term, but it just conjures up great imagination and creativity. So I appreciate that. But you talk about the importance of harnessing people power in the book, Ellen. What kind of groundwork should leaders do that really inspires and engages the people in their organizations?
Yeah, that's a great question, Caroline. So, one of the things we often see in organizations is people are asked to kind of move forward on a change, but they're not really given the compelling why.
Yeah.
So why should we do this change? So, we're told we got 13 new projects and we've got to execute on all this, but nobody really explains the larger picture. And so one of the first key elements is that compelling why. And not only, bombarding people with like a PowerPoint deck, but sharing stories that help resonate with people about the real reasons for change, whether there's customer frontline stories or pain points within the organization. For all of us, we're so much more likely to get on board with a change if we really understand that compelling why. The second big piece on there on how do we inspire and engage is asking for our input. Again and again, Lisa and I see that there's so much untapped potential in organizations. People have brilliant ideas for how to solve the challenges that confront the organization and the challenges that confront their teams. And often top leaders don't really ask for that input. It's more a tell and sell.
Yeah.
And that's another reason that we often disengage. We feel like we have really good ideas for how to address issues, but nobody's really asking our opinion, or even worse, they're shutting down our viewpoint.
So let's talk about this, because you and your co-author say that change management skills can be learned and become a competitive advantage for an organization. So elaborate. And I know for you as a coach and a consultant and a facilitator, a Stradella facilitator, right, actually get in there with organizations and help them to understand and learn these skills. But I'd love for you to elaborate a little more.
Okay, so I'll just highlight a little about each of the 4 central skills for Stradella, and then people can pick up the book to read more.
Yeah.
So the first is sense and shift, and that's all about proactively kind of tracking external game changers that may upset our competitive environment, but also optimizing internal capabilities so we're never blindsided. And 2 key questions we use again and again that are so powerful are as simple as what's working well and why, and what's not working and why. And we find over and over, if we ask people those 2 questions in the organization, there is so much good insight, good ideas, and innovative opportunities that bubble up just from those 2 questions. So that's about the shift piece, the sense and shift. It's the external sensing and then course correcting and shifting internally. That's the first skill. The second one is the inspire and engage. We were just talking about the compelling why and really enabling people to have ownership and provide their input into the change. And the third is about embracing our inner politician. So often in organizations, politics are taboo, and people tend to run away instead of run towards the politics. But we really advocate, and we see the benefits all the time, of working with the politics by identifying the key influencers who really sway others' opinions, not only the supporters and the sponsors and maybe promoters of change, but also the skeptics.
Yeah.
And we found over and over and again that there are really 2 types of skeptics in organizations. When we see resistance, some people resist because they have really good ideas, such as what we were talking about, that aren't being heard or listened to. And we call those folks positive skeptics. And other people resist for more emotional reasons or personal impact reasons. And for both categories, as change leaders, we need to understand the source of that resistance. And often those positive skeptics can actually prevent a change from derailing, because people can see things we can't see.
Right.
And then work with the negative skeptics so that they see the benefits of change, they see the what's in it for them.
So Ellen, tell me a little bit more about change fitness.
Great. So change fitness is the 4th kind of key Stradella skill, and that's all about changing less to achieve more. And how do we do that? So it's about sunsetting what's obsolete, prioritizing so we expend our effort in the best place. It's about prototyping and piloting things before we roll them out full scale, so we kind of work out the kinks in advance. And it's about managing our personal energy through micro breaks and recovery time. And lastly, building an after-action review so we learn as we go.
Awesome. It's interesting as someone who is also in the industry as an executive coach and a leadership trainer. I'm fascinated by some of these catchphrases that are common to you and I, but might be new to our audience. So you say that many leaders make the mistake of telling and selling their change strategies instead of inspiring and engaging. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so the tell and sell is so tempting as senior executives face that relentless competition and incredible external pressures and the need to meet quarterly returns. It's so tempting to just tell and sell from the top, which means we're just telling people what to do, trying to convince them, but we're not really explaining the why. We're not asking for their input, and we're not working through the politics, which we talked about earlier, is so critical for successful change.
Fascinating. The inspiration and the buy-in leads to engagement. And as you and I both know, too, engaged employees who are really excited go above and beyond their job description because they're excited about the work that they're doing.
Absolutely. That passion is so central. And often, we advise companies to go slow to go fast.
Yeah.
But until they see the benefits of that passion, it's often hard to convince people that going slow to go fast is actually faster and more powerful and more likely to sustain competitive advantage in the long run.
Right, because it is a marathon. Even if you've got a time, constraint, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
And change fatigue is epidemic in organizations. We see that all over companies in every industry. But then we also see those pockets of excellence, the companies that are just superstars, and you walk into those companies and they're kind of oozing with energy and excellence.
You can feel it.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about that, because there are some leaders listening who might think, okay, am I the leader of change fatigue? So for example, Ellen, what are the warning signs that a change strategy may have gone off course?
Yeah, great question. So a change strategy has gone off course when you feel the apathy, resistance, the fear even, or just strategic drift. People are kind of back doing to what they were doing before. They're not really engaged on the change you're trying to push forward. So any of those can be red flags that, we probably need to go slow to go fast. And circle back a bit on the strategy, circle back a bit on some of the maybe causes for resistance and the pain points people are feeling. Or maybe it's a burnout issue and people just have way too much on their plates. And so we need to help them prioritize and maybe take some things off their plates so that they can focus on the change.
Excellent. So your book is extraordinary. And in a moment, we're going to talk about how to buy it and how to engage with you online via social media. But entice us with one thing for our listeners. What can they do today? What's one thing, Ellen, to put Stradella into action?
I would say the one thing is to think about today's changes, the ones you have going right now, as a huge opportunity, not only to win at that change, but also be thinking about the skills you can build within the people you're engaging so that it's also about winning and change next time, winning and change for tomorrow's changes.
Beautifully put. Ellen Auster, your book is Stradella Tea. How can we buy it and how can we connect with you after the show?
Perfect. Thank you so much. So you can find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and you can visit our website, StradellaTeaChangeManagement.com. That's StradellaTeaChangeManagement, one word.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. You can subscribe to our blog. And also we'd love to join you for a speaking engagement, consulting, lead a workshop, or do some coaching.
Excellent. Ellen Auster, thank you so much. I so appreciate your book and the great wisdom you're putting out into the world. I've learned a lot and I will be recommending it widely. Thanks for spending some time with me on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much, Carolyn. It was my pleasure.
And I want to thank all of you for tuning in to Your Working Life, where my goal is to help you design your career destiny so it doesn't happen by default. Career and life satisfaction is possible, and it's time to embrace what you love doing so you can do more of it. My show is now available on iTunes, YouTube, Podbean, and Stitcher. Leave a comment because I always appreciate hearing from my listeners. I'm Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Take good care.